Hello, my wonderful viewers. You are welcome again to another Capital ICT lessons. My name is Ernest Ato Benzer. Viewers, I believe you are all doing great. Good, I'm also fine. Viewers, in our previous lesson, we looked at the summary of all the hardware devices we talked about. If you could remember, we said that the computer relies on two major components. That is the hardware aspect and then the software aspect. And we looked at the summary of all the hardware components that we talked about. Today in this lesson, we are going to look at the next major component of the computer system. Viewers, the lesson for today is on computer software. Computer software. We all use various types of softwares these days, and the software make up the second major component of the computer system. There are two, hardware and software. And we know that the hardware are the physical components of the computer system that we looked at, the input devices, output devices, storage devices, the system unit, and the various components that makes up the system unit. Today, we are going to look at the software that runs on all these components and makes them useful. But today, we move to today's business. Let's mark the assignment you were given the last time. I want to explain the term computer hardware. And hardware is the general term for the physical component that make up the computer system. Hardware is the general term for the physical components that make up the computer system. When we talk about physical, always remember that we are talking about something you can see and then touch as well. So if you were able to write an answer like this, then you are correct. 2. State any two groups of hardware devices and give two examples each. So the first one we talked about here is the input devices, and they feed data and commands into the system, and they also help us to interact with the computer system. So some examples of such devices are keyboard, you have the scanner, you have the mouse, you have joystick, microphone, and light pen. If you wrote any of these answers, or even those that are not here but are correct, then you are right. The next one is output devices. They bring out information from the computer system after processing for us to see. And we have examples like the monitor, the printer, the projector, you have loudspeaker, you have headphone, you have photocopier. So if you wrote these answers, some of these answers, or those that are not here but are correct, then you are right. Good. Now let's move to today's topic on computer software. So if you look at this, we have the hardware here, that is the laptop, and then the softwares that you see here are what makes the computer complete. The software makes the computer complete. Now let's move to the objectives. What I would like you to achieve at the end of the lesson. At the end of the lesson, you'll be able to explain what computer software is. What computer software is. To mention two main types of software that run on personal computers. You'll be able to mention two main types of software that run on personal computers. And then 3, explain the operating system and its types. So viewers, just sit back and let's all enjoy the lesson. And I believe if that goes on, you'll be able to achieve all these objectives at the end of the lesson. Now, what is computer software? What is computer software? Software, this is the name given to all programs that run on computer hardware. So viewers, anywhere in ICT conversations you hear software, is the same as programs that run on the computer hardware. So software is synonymous to programs that run on computer hardware when we are talking about computers. So all the programs, if you take your personal computer like the desktop or the laptop or even your smartphones, all the programs, when you go to Play Store on your Android phone, when you go to App Store on your iPhone, everything that you see there that you go there to install are all programs. They are all programs. And that makes the usage of that personal computer very interesting. Hardware is not what makes a computer useful. It is the software installed on it. So if you have a PC without any software, assuming you enter a phone shop, you go and buy a very nice and expensive phone. You come home, you switch it on, and the screen is black. Even though the power is on, but nothing comes on the screen. How can you use the phone? You can't. It is the software that makes the phone usage appealing. You switch it on and you see graphics on your screen, and it will come to the desktop. You see the icons there. You try to check the settings. You are able to do all this because of the software installed on it. So hardware is not what makes a computer useful, but the software. And viewers, without software, a computer is only a collection of electronic components in a case. Without a software, or without software, a computer is only a collection of electronic components in a case. So sometimes you can even see people's phones. The screen is smashed with a lot of cracks, but still they enjoy using the phone because of the software on it. So even if your screen is cracked, you still enjoy using the phone because of the software. But if the software is not working and all the hardware is intact, the phone is useless. So remember that without the software, a computer is only a collection of electronic components in a case. Software provides the means for you to interact with the computer's hardware by entering and receiving information through the user interface. So the software helps you to interact with the computer. You enter information, the computer will process that data you entered, and then you receive information to and fro like that. And that helps you to interact with your phone. You see, there are a lot of people like interacting with their phones. When you take a bus, you see everybody, majority of the passengers busily on their phones. Either they are on YouTube, either they are on TikTok, enjoying themselves, interacting, sending messages here and there. They are all possible because of the user interface. You can forward videos, send videos because of the user interface. Most recent software has a graphical user interface. There are various interfaces that you can work with when you are using a personal computer. And today, what we are using today is known as graphical user interface, which uses icons and graphics to accept data and commands. So if you look at this desktop you see here, you see some small pictures here that represent programs and files, and we call this small pictures that you see here icons. That leads you to a file you have saved on your personal computer, or provides a shortcut to a program on your personal computer. You have some graphic here, some nice landscape here. You can even insert your own photo at the background. All these are possible because of what we call graphical user interface. It uses icons and other graphics to accept data and commands. The graphical user interface is a program that allows you also to create. You can create a file. You can type a file. You can take a picture, edit the picture, and send it to someone. You are creating something. You can create a video with your phone. You are creating something, all because of the user interface. You can delete files. Sometimes when your storage is full, the system will prompt you to delete some files, some old files or unnecessary files, so that you can free up space. They are all possible because of the graphical user interface. You can run programs. If you have programs installed, games and other programs on your phone. As I said, TikTok, WhatsApp, they are all programs. Facebook, they are all programs. They are all possible because of graphical user interface. Remember that when we talk about graphics, we are talking about images. And then you can navigate through files and folders. You can go to your settings, you can change your settings, you can go to your gallery, view pictures and videos. You can go through lots of files and folders, and all are possible because of graphical user interface. Good. Viewers, there is another interface known as the command line interface. If computers were to be using command line, majority will not be using computers today, because that needs the memorization of lots of commands. I remember early 2000s when I started interacting with computers, I was using Microsoft Microsoft DOS, that is disk operating system. That one you just type, because if you want to save something, and that is the screen. At that time, that is the screen we're using. Black like this with white text. So anything you do, you have to remember the command. If you want to save, if you want to format a disk, if you want to open a disk, they are all by commands. And it is through this command line interface that keyboard shortcuts became popular. Because you will not get the interface for you to go to file. Then you go to save as. Then a dialog box will come. You type a file name. You choose a location. And then you click on save. You will not get that. So you have to know how to use commands to save. That is where Ctrl+S, all those things came as a result of the shortcuts. So because you need a lot of commands, using these computers limited a lot of people from learning to use personal computers. But by the use of graphical user interface, where pictures and other graphics are used, it's made the use of computers very lively. Viewers, a computer relies on two main types of software: the system software and application software. So we have the system software and the application software. So when we're talking about hardware, we talked about input, output, storage, and then system unit and each component. In the same way, software also has other components. We have the system software and application software. The system software is the first software that runs on computer hardware and provides a platform for running other software called application software. It forms a platform. When you are building, what is your platform? You do the foundation first when you are building, and that foundation serves as a platform for you to raise the building. The same applies to the system software. The system software is the first software that runs on the hardware, that covers the hardware for you, and then provide a platform for other software application called application software. When you buy a new phone, the system software is already installed, and you go to Play Store or App Store to install other software. So the first software you had when you bought the phone is what we call the system software. Remember that on any computer, the system software is installed first before any other specific software called the application software. So let's look at this diagram here. This is the hardware, your input devices, output devices, storage, and then the system unit. They come here. Then the system software will come. That is the operating system. So that provides a platform of which you can install application programs, and then the user will come. So without operating system, without application, you, the user, you cannot use the computer system. So if you remove the operating system and then the application system, then the user cannot use the hardware. It's just electronic components. You can't use them. So remember that on any personal computer, the system software is the first software installed before any specific. Specific softwares are called application softwares, and you will come to that. But when you buy any personal computer, a phone, a laptop, a desktop, the system software is the first software you will find. When you switch the machine on for the first time, the system software is the first software you will see before you install other application software. As you use a computer, the system software works in the background to manage hardware and run other software. So the system software is not meant for you, the user. Majority of the work the system software does is to manage the hardware components we talked about. All the hardware components you connect to the computer system. The system software is there to manage them. So majority of the work done by the system software is to manage the hardware components for you, so that based on the platform created by the system software, you can install other application software to do your work. You use application software directly to complete a specific task or to create something electronically. So if I will use application software to create a video. I will use application software to create a poster. I will use application software to create a banner, to create a music. That is not done by the system software. It is done by a specific software. You can find the same system software on about 100 PCs belonging to different individuals. The same system software on about 100 PCs belonging to different individuals. But when it comes to application software, the application software, because it is specific, what I want to use the PC to do, application software may differ from computer to computer. If I'm a graphic designer, if you take my PC, you will find Photoshop, you will find CorelDRAW and other graphic software. If I'm a musician, you will find music editing software, software for recording voices and the rest. If I'm a secretary, you will find word processing software like Microsoft Word, other word processing software. So the application softwares differ. But when it comes to the system software, it can be the same on majority of computers. But the application software will differ because of what I want to use the computer to do. Good. Using application software, you can create tasks such as writing a report, creating a video, viewing a web page, and sending photos to a friend. So it depends on what you want to use the computer for before you get the application software. In general, a computer runs a system software to perform computer tasks. So as I said, the system software manages the various resources you have connected to the computer system, while the application software carry out your personal task. What I want to use the computer for. What you want to use the computer for. So when you take my PC as an educationist, you will find educational programs or programs for writing educational resources for people to learn. If you take someone who is an, as I said, a graphic designer, the programs may differ. So the system software manages computer tasks and application software manages your personal task. As we said, a computer relies on two major softwares. That's the system software and then application software. So for the purpose of this lesson, we are going to deal first with system software because that is the first software you find on any personal computer. So as I said, we are dealing with system software today. The system software comes in three types. We have the operating system, we have the utility software, and we have device drivers. Operating system, utility software, and device drivers. So the system software that is installed on any personal computer first include operating system, utility software, and device drivers. And also, for the purpose of this lesson, we are going to talk about operating system. Operating system. So, operating system. Let's look at operating system. An operating system is a software that manages the resources and activities on a computer. So, if you take the system software, you say we have three. We have the operating system, we have the utility software, and we have the device drivers. So when you take a system software, the major one is the operating system, before the utility and then the device drivers. So the operating system is what allows you to use a computer. The operating system is what allows you to use a computer. For the first time, if you buy a fresh PC, a phone, a laptop, or a desktop, the operating system is what allows you to use the computer. And it's a software that manages the resources and activities on a computer. Operating system also falls into four major categories. Four major categories, depending on the type of device for which they were designed. So the software comes in two. So you have system software and application software. And I said in this lesson we are going to talk about system software. System software too, we have three: operating system, utility software, and device drivers. And we are going to talk about operating system. And we are also saying that operating system also falls into four major categories. And these four major categories are personal computer operating system, operating systems that we install on laptops and desktops or netbook. I believe you remember the difference between a netbook and a laptop. A laptop comes with optical drive where you can insert CDs. A netbook does not come with CD drive. So we have operating systems that are installed on laptop or desktop or netbook. The next operating systems are operating systems that are installed on mobile phones and tablets or phablets. The next operating system are operating systems that are installed on servers to manage a network. And the next operating system are installed on embedded computers. I remember we treated a lesson on the types of personal computers, and we dealt with embedded computers like microwaves, traffic lights, washing machines. I believe you remember that lesson. They are all using operating system. So these are the four major types of operating system. Operating systems we install on personal computers, that is laptop and then desktop. Operating systems that are installed on mobile phones, phablets and tablets. Operating systems that are installed on servers, that is machines that manages a network, and then embedded computers, that are some devices or household appliances we use at home. So viewers, again, for the purpose of this lesson, you will be talking about personal computer operating system, operating systems that are installed on laptops, desktops, and netbook. Desktop operating system. When you purchase a personal computer like a desktop or a laptop, the operating system is already installed. So if you look at this laptop, for instance, it has Windows 10, and that is an operating system. So when you buy or you purchase a desktop, a laptop, the operating system is already installed. As I said, that is the first software installed on a PC that allows you to interact with the computer. Without this system software called operating system, you cannot interact with the computer. The operating system, that is the OS, helps you to know the various hardware components of the PC. If I want to buy a PC, the first thing I will do is that I will check the specs. That is the specification of the PC. What are the specifications? I will look at the size of the screen as part of the specs. Then I will go into the operating system. I'll look at the size of the hard disk, the processor type, the speed of the processor, the size of the RAM. I will check all these things. These are the specs. And the operating system helps you to know the hardware. Because if I want to know the size or the storage capacity of my RAM, sometimes they write it on the physical RAM. Unless I open the PC, remove the RAM and then look at it. If I want to know the size of my hard disk, sometimes they write on the physical hard drive. I have to remove the hard drive from the new machine and then look at the size. If I want to check the speed of the processor, sometimes they are not written on the processor. How will I check the speed of the processor? So the operating system helps you to know the specifications of the machine. That's why we are saying the OS helps you to know the various hardware components. Because I cannot just ask somebody that I need a laptop, go and buy a laptop for me. The person can bring any laptop, and if I'm not lucky, the laptop I need and the one the person will bring may not satisfy me. So I have to give the person specification. This is the size of the screen I want. Fine, that's the hardware. But the software on the machine will help me to know the capacity of my hard drive and my RAM, the speed of my processor and the type of processor, and any other thing I want to know. Whether the screen is touch or not, all these things will be made available to you through the operating system. Good. Operating system installed on a single computer like desktop, laptop or netbook are called personal operating systems or standalone operating systems or desktop operating systems. So any operating system which is a system software installed on a laptop or a desktop, they are called personal operating systems, standalone operating systems, or desktop operating systems. So viewers, remember that. Desktop operating systems are considered single user operating systems because one user interacts with the operating system at a time. If I'm using a laptop, it's a single user operating system that will be on it. So because of that, I cannot be using the laptop to type my document, while my brother will be using the laptop to watch movies, while my sister will also be using the laptop to play games. It can never happen because that type of operating system is a single user operating system. So until I finish doing what I'm doing on that desktop or laptop, nobody can also come and use it at the same time. Remember, at the same time, because it's a single user operating system. Then we have to form a queue. If there's only one computer at home, then mommy and daddy will have to do a roster. This is the time Kofi uses the computer. This is the time Amma uses the computer. This is the time Kojo uses the computer. Because the three of them cannot use the computer at the same time. Because it's a single user operating system that is installed on these machines. So unless one person finishes, you can't use it. So remember that operating systems called standalone desktop operating systems, they are single user, meaning that one user can interact with the system at a time. They are also multitasking operating system, meaning they let you work with one or more programs at the same time. So I may be typing some documents. Whilst I don't want to get bored, I'll be playing music too on the same PC. I'll be listening to the music while I am also typing a document. So if I can use two programs, using a typing program and a music program at the same time, then that operating system is multitasking. That program is multitasking. It means I can run more than one program at the same time. I can run one or more programs at the same, more than one programs at the same time. Good. The three most popular personal computer operating systems are Windows. Viewers, not the window you have at home. the Windows are a type of operating system, not the ones we have at home and at schools. So the most popular are Windows, Mac OS, the OS is operating system, and then Linux. So that is what we have. So these are the symbols or the logos of the three most popular operating systems used by the world today: Microsoft Windows, Mac OS, and then Linux. So these are what we are going to look at. So in today's lesson, we are looking at operating systems. That is an example of a type of a system software installed on a desktop, a laptop, or a netbook. So let's start with Microsoft Windows. Currently, Microsoft Windows run on more personal computer brands worldwide than any other operating system. So Microsoft Windows is the most popular operating systems that run on most personal computers, that is desktop, laptop, or netbooks. Microsoft Windows. Examples of versions of Microsoft Windows operating system are: Microsoft Windows started with Windows 1.0, then they came to Windows 3.1. When I started learning computers, I started with Windows 95. Then we heard that Windows 98 came, we used it. Windows 2000 came, we used it. We even had Windows 2000 Professional. It also came, we used it. Then Windows Me, that is Windows Millennium, also came, we used it. Windows XP, that is Experience, Windows Experience, we short it as Windows XP. Then from Windows XP around 2004, 2006, I remember that time, Windows Vista also came. Then we had Windows 7, we had Windows 8, we had Windows 10, and currently the most current operating system of Microsoft is Windows 11. Windows 11. So if you buy a brand new machine, you will get Windows 11 on it, a brand new machine. Either you will get Windows 10 or Windows 11 on that machine, because Windows 11 came recently. So either you will get Windows 10 or Windows 11. So these are the various versions of Windows from Microsoft. Microsoft is a company, and they produce Windows operating system. Windows operating system. So these are the versions, and all these Windows operating system are called versions. So if I want to buy, somebody wants to sell a laptop to me, I will ask the person, what version of Windows is that laptop using? Or the person will say Windows 7 or Windows 8 or Windows 10, and I will know the operating system. Currently, if you are buying a PC, make sure you go for Windows 10, because sometimes, as we said, the operating system or the system software serves as a platform to run other softwares called application softwares. Sometimes some applications that are being designed work with specific Windows. So if you go for a higher window, it is better. Most applications will work with it. There are some applications that if you want to install on Windows 7, it will tell you that it is not compatible with Windows 7 unless you install Windows 8 or 10. So always go for the current, at least the previous current Windows. And in case of this, we have 10. Or so you in Ghana here, most of the people using machines, computers, you will find more of Windows 10 and Windows 7. Windows 8 was very difficult to use. People were not familiar. I remember a certain lady bought a PC with Windows 8, and for about 3 months, shutting down the machine even became a problem because they don't know how to maneuver. Windows 8 was very difficult to maneuver for most users. So Windows 8 didn't last long, and Windows 10 was introduced, which combined the features of Windows 7 and 8 and made it user-friendly for most users. So these are versions of Microsoft Windows, and I believe if you have a PC, you may be using one of these because these are the most popular operating systems in the world today. Viewers, the lead founder who formed the Microsoft company that produced these Windows for us to use is called Bill Gates. And this is the picture of Bill Gates. So anytime you hear Bill Gates, he is the lead founder of Microsoft company. If you read more about Bill Gates, he attended Harvard University, the #1 university in the world, and when he got to the 3rd year, he just withdrew from the university, stopped schooling, and then started with the Microsoft company. And right now, he's one of the richest men in the world. Bill Gates is one of the richest in the world by owning Microsoft software company. So Bill behind, he's the lead founder of Microsoft company. Now let's move to Macintosh by Apple. Apple devices are familiar these days, and everybody wants to use an iPhone belonging to Apple. They also produce personal computer operating systems. And Macintosh, that is Mac OS, they normally shorten it as Mac OS. The Mac means, that's the short form of the Macintosh, and the OS means operating system. So Mac OS is the computer's operating system for Apple desktops and laptops. So all Apple desktops and laptops, they use Mac OS. But when it comes to Microsoft, they run on most of the computer that we have around. The Gateway computers, Dell computers, HP computers, Lenovo computers. Microsoft runs on all these machines. But when it comes to Mac OS, they run on only Apple manufactured devices. Mac OS runs on only Apple manufactured devices. So they run on Apple desktops or laptops. And they also have versions, and versions of Mac OS are named after big cats. When we were talking about Windows, we talked about Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, Windows 11, Windows Vista, Windows Millennium. These are versions of Windows. They call their versions Windows. But when it comes to Mac, Apple, they name their operating system after big cats. So we have Cheetah, we have Puma, we have Jaguar, we have Panther, we have Tiger, we have Leopard, we have Snow Leopard, Lion, Mountain Lion, and the rest. They name them after big cats or places in California. So they use those names to name their operating systems. And the latest operating system of Mac OS is the Ventura. That is the latest. When you get to the Microsoft, it's the Windows 11. Windows 11. And Mac OS has developed a reputation among its users for being a very secure and reliable OS. As for Mac OS, it's very secure, especially when it comes to virus attack. Mac OS are very secure. It's very difficult for viruses to attack Mac OS. And the lead founder for Apple company is Steve Jobs. And this is Steve Jobs. He's the lead founder of the Apple company. He's the lead founder, and he's no more. He's dead. He's no more. Initially, this was the logo of Apple. There is a tree with Isaac Newton sitting under the tree and an apple falling on the head of Isaac Newton. That was the logo of Apple company. Later, it was changed to this. It was changed to this. And this has also been transformed. We had the logo being black with different colors, and right now, this is the current logo of Apple. I was one time reading something about the Apple company. And Steve Jobs, this man, wrote that if you look at the apple here, you see that this part is bitten. This part is bitten. And that is the secret of their company. Anyone who will be able to fix the missing part here, Apple will cease to be Apple. the technology behind Apple that makes their systems very secure and reliable. If you're able to find this missing bitten part, then Apple will cease to. So the small bitten part here is their secret, and that is what I read about. So that is the logo of Apple, and we all enjoying using Apple, especially their phones. This time everyone wants to use iPhone from Apple. The next operating system is Linux. The next operating system is Linux, and Linux is a personal computer operating system related to Unix. So the company that formed Linux is also Unix. This operating system is developed for large special purpose computers that are frequently used by scientists and programmers. So when we're talking about the types of computers, we talked about special purpose computers that are designed to perform a specific function. And these kinds of operating systems are found, majority are found on Linux. They are using the Linux operating system. Windows and Mac OS are proprietary operating systems, meaning they are owned and updated solely by their companies. So we know that Windows belongs to Microsoft's company. They own it. Like when you come to schools, if I own a private school, I'll be called the proprietor. I own the school. So when you come to Windows and Mac OS, they are owned by specific people. As I said, the lead founder of Windows is Bill Gates, and the lead founder of Apple is Steve Jobs. They own the company. But when it comes to the Linux, it is not solely owned by a company. Linux is an open source operating system, which means that when they develop that operating system, they allow you to copy the operating system as your own. I can take a Linux, do some changes to it, and use it as my own. Maybe I will do some little changes, and I will name it, brand this as my own. So you can copy the operating system for your own use. You can also give it to others or to sell, even though you are not the one who developed that operating system, but they allow you. Linux is not a proprietary operating system. When they develop it, you can use it as your own, brand it as your own, or you can give to others freely or to sell. So they are open source. Linux is an open source, and Windows and Mac are proprietary operating system. Good. So with Windows and Mac, they call theirs versions. So when you are asked what are some of the versions of Windows, you can talk about Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, Windows 11. They are versions. When you talk about versions of Mac OS, you can talk about Mountain Lion, you can talk about Panther, you can talk about Jaguar, and the rest. They are versions of Mac OS. But when you come to Linux, they call it distributions. They call their versions distributions, and these are the names. We have SUSE, we have Ubuntu, we have Debian, we have different distributions of the Linux, and these are the different distributions of Linux. As I said, Microsoft is the most popular, followed by Mac OS, followed by Linux. So these are not really popular. I remember when the RLG laptops started coming some years back, the operating system was Linux, Ubuntu. If the schools that those laptops were distributed to, if they could remember, they were using the Ubuntu operating system. And since the operating system popular in Ghana here is still the Windows, most of these laptops were formatted, and then Windows operating system were installed. Good. So the Linux popular operating system is called Ubuntu, as I said. That's their popular operating system, and Ubuntu is named after African philosophy that encourages humanity towards others. So they think about humanity towards others. Linus talks about humanity towards others. That is why when they develop the operating system, you can customize it as your own, you can distribute it freely, or you can even sell it to make money. And they all include features like Windows and Mac OS. And the person behind Linux is called Linus Torvalds. And he introduced Linux operating system in the early 90s. He came from Finland. Good. Now let's look at how operating systems came about. Personal computer operating systems appeared in the 1980s. So when IBM and other companies first developed personal computers, so IBM, International Business Machines, IBM, they made computers smaller so that you and I can own one and use it at home or at our workplaces, IBM. So when they came, most of their operating systems were specialized operating systems, or the command line where you have the black screen and you only have to type commands. So in the 1980s, that is when personal computers started coming. Then all these computers, as I said, had command line like this. So computers were not popular. If your brain is not sharp, you can't memorize all these commands. Other than I have to have a book in front of you always. You look at the command and then you look, and then it wasn't interesting. So on Mac OS, this program is called Terminal, and in Windows we call it the command prompt. So when you are using Windows and you go to search on your start menu and you type command prompt, it will bring this program for you to use. And on Mac we call it Terminal. So in 1984, Apple introduced the Mac OS, the Mac operating system, which featured one of the first graphical user interface on commercially available computers. So Apple brought the first operating system that uses pictures and icons for you to interact with the computer in 1984. Then Microsoft also released Windows 1.0 shortly after Apple debuted. That is, when we talk about debuted, we are talking about first public appearance. This word means debuted means first, or debuted means first public appearance. So when Apple also introduced their Mac OS, Windows also brought Windows 1.1, even though Windows did not become popular until Microsoft again brought the version 3.1 in 1992. So behind all these years, personal computers were not popular in Ghana. Personal computers were not so popular in the 90s, early 90s. Personal computers were not so popular. So it was after Microsoft introduced 3.1 and then Windows 95, that is when computers became popular in Ghana. So Linus also developed and introduced DS in the 90s. And since then Microsoft has become the most popular operating system in the world. All the personal computers, desktop, laptops, netbooks, most of them are using Microsoft Windows because the most popular operating system. So viewers, we are almost at the end of the lesson, and today we talked about the second component of the computer system, that is computer software. Said that the software is the name given to all programs that run on the computer hardware. There are two, that is, we have the system software and then we have the application software. And we said for the purpose of this lesson, we looked at system software. And system software too, we have operating system software, we have utility software, we have device drivers. And for the purpose of this lesson too, we looked at operating system software. Then we looked at operating system too, and we said operating system also comes in 4 types. We have the personal computer operating system, we have mobile operating systems, we have server operating systems, we have embedded operating systems. And for the purpose of this lesson, we looked at personal computer operating systems. And for personal computer operating systems, we looked at the three major types of PC operating systems. We looked at Microsoft Windows, we looked at Mac OS, and we looked at Linux OS. So viewers, these are the operating systems used by our personal computers. And before we leave, as usual, let's test ourselves on this lesson. 1. All the programs that run on the computer is called. All the programs that run on the computer is called. So we have components, we have hardware, and then we have software. So these are the answers: components, hardware, and software. All the programs that run on the computer is called hardware. Software. Good. The answer is software. So as I said, anywhere you hear programs, when ICT is concerned or ICT is talked about, we are talking about software. So software are all programs that run on the computer system. 2. The first software that run on the computer hardware is called. When you buy a laptop or a smartphone, a certain software is already installed that allows you to interact with that personal computer. That software is called what? We have system software, we have application software, we have utility. Yes, the answer is system software. So system software is the first software that runs on computer hardware. 3. And dash is software that coordinates the resources and activities on a computer. So which software coordinates the resources and activities on a computer? We have application software, we have operating system, and then we have utility. Which of these softwares coordinates the resources and activities on a computer? Good. Operating system. Good. So the operating system is a software that coordinates and then or manages the resources and activities on a computer. When you talk about resources, we are talking about the various hardware components that makes up the computer system. Then 4. Operating systems installed on a single computer are called. Operating systems installed on a single computer like this are called. We have multi-operating system, desktop operating system, and then drivers operating system. Operating system installed on a single computer like the laptop or the desktop you are using. Good. The answer is desktop operating system. Desktop operating system. And then 5. Which of the following operating systems is the most popular on personal computers? Which of the following operating system is the most popular? We talked about 3 most popular: from Microsoft, from Apple, and then from Linux. Which of these is the most popular? So you have Ubuntu, we have Microsoft Windows, we have Mac OS. Good. Microsoft Windows is the most popular operating systems on personal computers. Viewers, we have all done well, and I believe you all got the answers right and you enjoyed the lesson too. But before we leave, let's take this assignment and try our hands on. 1. What is a software? What is a software? 2. State 2 main types of software that run on personal computers. State the 2 main types of software that run on personal computers. 3. What is an operating system? What is an operating system? And then 4. Mention 3 examples of Windows operating system. Mention 3 examples of the Windows operating system. So we are talking about the versions of Windows operating system. I showed you a lot of them. And if you are using a computer, you are even using one of the versions. So just mention 3 examples of the Microsoft Windows operating system. Viewers, I'll give you some few minutes to put the assignments down. Hello viewers, you are welcome back. I believe you were all able to write the assignments. Make sure you try your hands on. Today we looked at the second component of the computer system, that is software. And we talked about softwares that run on personal computers, known as the system software. The next time you meet, you will talk about the other types of software that we talked about. Until I come your way again with another interesting ICT lesson, this is your instructor, Untitled Chapter. Bye-bye.